Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi there.
Hi, Hermes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Right, Charlotte, I'm going to hand over to you to admit people from now on, and I'm going to kick off. I'm introducing myself. I'm Lana Foster, and I'm the Managing Director of BrightWorldEducation&Guardianships. And we're here today to talk about Christmas. Rather too early for a lot of us normally, but anyway, here we are. So may I also introduce my panelists, Charlotte Hamson.
Hi, everyone.
Charlotte is our Director of Sales and Marketing at BrightWorld, and Mary Doody.
Hello, everybody.
And Mary is works one of the leading language travel providers in the UK and is the director of the young learners specifically at King's, and will be operating our Christmas programs for us with her colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mary.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So I'm going to carry on now, and just a bit of background as to why we think that we as an organisation, King's and BrightWorld, need to offer these additional solutions for Christmas. I've calculated, looking at the ISC statistics, that there are probably between 10 to 15,000 boarding school students from countries not on the travel corridor list. So in other words, those who would have to quarantine if they went home for Christmas on their return back to the UK. That's an awful lot of students. It may be slightly less due to the ISC statistics, those being from last year. So that's not taking into account a possible drop in numbers over the board this year. We're starting to hear now from boarding schools, and I know that here today with us, there are a lot of boarding schools who've joined the webinar. So thank you for joining us, and comments from you will be very welcome at any point. But it is our impression that due to all of the work that schools have been having to do, getting students back in September, quarantining them, remaining open for exeat weekends, and many of them remaining open for half term, that they're simply not able to remain open for Christmas because of staffing issues. People need a rest, and a lot of the boarding staff will be really exhausted by Christmas and need a break. There are also certain children's home laws that come into play if a boarding school remains open for too many days of the year. And I'm not sure whether that is actually going to apply for Christmas or whether an exemption will be given, but I've heard no news on that. I don't know if any of the schools have. Another reason why I think we need this extra provision is because many guardians aren't guardianship organisations like BrightWorld, so they may be family friends who've been appointed as guardians to students, and they're not able to host for various reasons. We have the rule of 6 that may be reintroduced after the 2nd of December lockdown, where no more than 6 people are allowed to be in one place at one time. Now, that can be exceeded if it's the same household. So if a household consists of 10 people, that's fine, but no one else can join the household. And often for host families, they may have an elder family member who's vulnerable and they're just not happy to take on students at this point. We're finding at BrightWorld that host families are able and willing to host, but not in these huge numbers that are going to be required for Christmas. There's simply not enough host families willing to do it at this point. We see it very much our job as a guardianship organisation to take care of students during the holidays. And so with our partnership with King's, I've worked with Mary for far too many years to admit to, it was a natural marriage that BrightWorld and King's should join together and produce Christmas residential options as a team. It's our job to do so, and for Mary, she's very able and very willing to help as well. So that's just a bit of the background as to why we're here today and why we've done it. My general feeling about what students are planning to do, I don't really know, but my feeling is that most students who aren't from travel corridor countries will not be returning home at Christmas. International travel's currently not recommended. There's a lot of unsure feelings towards whether flights will be cancelled. So I feel that most students will make the decision with their parents to actually remain in the UK for Christmas. Some are planning on going home, but it's very, very tricky and very, very difficult. The Fit to Fly test prior to departure has its own challenges, as I'm sure many of you here will know and be experiencing at this point. Many students would have to quarantine in their own country when they returned home, and then back in the UK when they come back. So a Chinese student has to take 2 tests within 48 hours of travel, both being negative. They then have to quarantine for 14 days back in China in a government hotel. And then on their return to the UK, quarantine here again. So it's really not a very attractive option for many. BrightWorld Guardianships, for our own students, we have host families who are able and willing to do it, although those are running out at this point. We have our Relax and Revise programme in Cambridge that we run with Cambridge Melchior College. So those 2 options are very much available still for our own clients and our own students. But in addition to that, for those students of ours who want something different, and also for all students at UK boarding schools, so this is now being offered not just to BrightWorld students, are the residential options that we're here to talk about today with Padworth College and the Arts University Bournemouth. We think that a residential provision and option for students and for students to stay in the UK is the safest option. Parents and agents and schools will know where their children and their students are. So they won't be roaming the UK, staying in hotels, Airbnbs. They will be looked after. They will know that the students are following guidance and social distancing, washing hands, and not mixing with others to put themselves at risk. Parents will be reassured to know that should their child fall ill or be feeling anxious during these times, that there's someone there to care for them, and that we have a full isolation contingency plan in place at each centre. So everything is covered. in addition to all of those safety measures that we're putting in place, there'll be plenty to keep them occupied. And this is great for their mental health and stimulation. And at the end of Christmas, we hope they will have had a lovely holiday with restrictions in place, but they will have enjoyed themselves, and we will return them to school COVID-free and healthy to continue their studies in January. And that's what it's all about. It's continuing their education and having a safe continuation of studies. So we do think that it's really important for parents to consider these things. We've looked at the guidance, and Mary, please feel free to interject at this point. There isn't really much guidance out there for what we may term as a pop-up residential setting. We've asked the DfE to confirm if there's any special measures that they need us to put in place, but for now we're just being told that we're to use the guidance for residential settings as set out by the DfE and PHE, and for student accommodation providers. So we're following that guidance, and Mary has her own COVID plan in place.
In motion, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I should add to that, Lana, we, King's Education, have our own schools in operation already, so I'll very much take my lead from them and from the BSA with regard to any COVID safety measures. All of my staff will have some COVID safety training, as well as the standard safeguarding training, and we will be as best prepared as we can be for taking on these students over Christmas.
That's great. So good to know. And you're good to go, basically.
We are. On top of that, actually, our own sort of association of EFL language schools is called English UK, and I'm chair of a subgroup of English UK, Young Learners English UK, and we just yesterday completed our own sort of COVID safety checklist for running Young Learner operations. So we're just literally sending that out today to all of our association schools, and I'll certainly be using it myself in the setup.
Instrumental in putting that together for other schools.
Sure. Yeah, I have been involved with it, and now I will be making sure that I tick all the boxes that we've created for it for our own Christmas operation.
Absolutely. I think that will doubtless provide people with a lot of reassurance.
Sure, and that safety, I suppose, standard, I'm happy to share that with any of agents, parents, schools as well, so that you can see we're following as much as we can the letter of the law at the moment.
That would be great. Thank you. Yes. So just now, talking about the centres specifically, our first option is the traditional British boarding school, Padworth College, situated in Reading. It's a traditional boarding school. It's a country house setting. So a festive welcome in a country house is a lovely feeling that I have when I imagine walking into Padworth College and there's a beautiful Christmas tree. I think it'll be a very welcoming place. The bedrooms are fairly newly refurbished, mainly singles and with some twins. We have some students coming who want to stay in the same room. They're coming from the same school, so that's also a possibility. There's beautiful grounds, as you can see in the photo, and you'll see in a moment on a video. And this is available for the very young as well, for right from 7 through to 17-year-olds. So we'll cater for the younger students as well. And that's available from the 12th of December to the 3rd of January.
I was lucky enough to go and see Padworth during half term, and they were actually hosting a bit of a half term program for some of their own students. And I was very impressed, particularly with the accommodation. It has been fairly newly refurbished. All of the rooms have wash basins in as well, which helps, I guess, with the washing of the hands situation. And there's plenty of indoor and, if the weather allows, outdoor space for doing activities. And I've kind of started to tailor the program now around the facilities that are available in the college, which I can talk about when you show that slide, Lana.
Yes. So that's for anyone who's in the webinar and who doesn't know where the college is. That's how conveniently situated it is, and within easy reach of London. Not that anyone will be going into London, of course, but for once that's an irrelevant piece of information. But that's just to show you where it is on the map. And then this is a video that I'm going to try and play. I hope it's successful. I know sometimes that isn't successful. It's not successful, is it? We'll return to that maybe later because that link doesn't seem to be working.
If I can just say that the college, even though it's very close to Reading, I think it's about 10 miles from Reading, it is in the countryside. So for people who are worried about students perhaps being close to a town or getting very close to other people, it really won't be an option in Padworth because it was a country estate in its day. So it is a very self-contained site where we can keep everybody safe and entertained as well.
That's great. I think this might work if I try this. No, that's still not working, which is very annoying, but we'll maybe try later with that.
Oh,
don't worry, I'm not going to go through it all again. And so the second centre that we have on offer is, I mean, really impressive. I know Mary will want to talk more about it because you visited yesterday and were very, very impressed with the location. It's a university campus. It's part of the Arts University Bournemouth. We have the exclusive use of campus halls, which is a brand new hotel quality residence. Not only do we have those single ensuite bedrooms throughout that have a kitchen area for each 8 rooms, so there are cluster flats for students to use. But we also have use of some of the university's amazing facilities, which won't be in use during the Christmas holidays. So I don't know if you want to expand on that anymore or wait until I've got the photos up, Mary.
No, I mean, you'll see some of the photos fresh off my phone from yesterday in a moment, but it is, the university had planned to open this Hall of Residence to their own students this September but due to COVID, the build got delayed, and to our benefit, I guess, really. Literally, my liaison guy at Bournemouth hadn't even seen the accommodation himself until yesterday. They are just handing it over. They're landscaping the outside with the exact same trees that are in that picture that have been flown over from Germany, they told me yesterday. So it's only the outside that needs to be landscaped. Inside is all done, and to an extremely high standard. I wouldn't even call them single rooms. They're almost double rooms. They're 4-foot beds, small double beds. It's got mood lighting in the bedrooms. There's proper bathroom cabinets in the bathrooms. These are all unusual things for university accommodation. So it is stunning, brand new accommodation that we will be the first to occupy. And as Lana said, we will have sole occupancy of it. So it makes it extra safe to me for use over Christmas.
And there are just some of the images. This is one of the kitchen areas that each 8 rooms has their own area like this for students to socialise in and do some basic cooking themselves.
We will mainly use them for socialising because there is a full board option or a full board provided at the school, and we won't have kitchens equipped with too much equipment. But we will occasionally probably lend out some equipment if certain flats want to do little pasta parties, as I call them, or noodle parties.
Yes, looks wonderful, and this is what I call the studio here. Because it looks like a yoga studio.
Yeah, it will eventually be some sort of student union room, because other than the accommodation, it's in a quad, if you like. This is the fantastic reception area. This is the other kind of social room, so I'll probably use it myself for some sort of dance, yoga activities, and even just as a meeting space, because let's be mindful of being indoors in December. But again, a great space, brand new to us, and I think they've got a couple of table tennis tables that we can use there as well. So it kind of can be a bit multi-purpose.
Looks fabulous. So the plan really is for students to relax, have fun, and stay active. I've been running the Relax and Revise half-term and Easter programme for 5 years now, so I understand the difference between a boarding school student in their holiday time to a student coming from overseas for a holiday programme in the UK. A student coming from overseas to the UK for a holiday programme is expecting a very full programme of lessons and activities back to back all day long. A boarding school student is tired by the time they get to their holidays. They've had their whole term of activities back to back, and what they're looking for is somewhere to relax, chill out, do stuff in their own time, at their own pace, have some really nice food to eat, 3 nice hot meals a day to look forward to, and have time to study. Our students are serious students. They're here to do well in their exams. Christmas is a very important time for homework, so they need that space and flexibility to be able to study if they want to. But similarly, they need to be encouraged as well to take part in some activities, because it's not healthy to just relax all the time. And looking after the mental health of our students is something that is really important to Mary and to Bright World at this time. We know from our own experiences how our mental health is suffering a little bit, all of us probably, with these strange times. And these are children who normally would be going home for Christmas to see their parents, and unfortunately they're not going to be able to. So this is going to cause some anxieties and some mental health issues. We're very aware of that, and that's why we want to make the Christmases a very positive experience for them all. And we all know that exercise and stimulating activities are really key in combating stress and anxiety, and that exercise can really boost your mood and help improve your immune system. So all these things, we want our children to be resilient and stay healthy during these times. So we want them to follow these top tips. We want them to get outside as much as possible in the fresh air, keep their exercise and their activities interesting. We want them to try something new, and we want them to work out, get their heart rates up, participate with their friends, and get off their devices just for an hour. And and just get out and about. And that's very much what our ethos is going to be at Christmas. So that very, very careful balance of allowing students to chill out and relax whilst encouraging them to do some activities as well. So with that in mind, you'll see that all the mornings are very, very relaxed. Late breakfast, chill out in the morning, relax and revise in school. And then in the afternoons and evenings, Mary will be putting on some amazing activities, all socially distanced, all very well thought through within the limitations that we have. They are optional, but we do encourage people to join. I don't know if you want to expand for me, Mary, on some of the newer things.
Even since this was put together, I've sort of changed the programme. As things stand, we will not really be going off-site at all. When I originally did the programme, I thought we'd have moved on and we could get the kids off-site a little bit on some excursions. But right now, that's not going to happen. And having visited the two locations, I've now kind of come up with a programme and spoken to some specialists who will deliver some of the activities for me. So Padworth, if you like, is a bit more, I suppose, sporty oriented and games oriented because of the kind of location that it is. I'm going to have an outside education company who have actually worked with Padworth this term come in and do some climbing frames and archery and things like that. And they've all got sent me their COVID risk assessments for that. We're going to do things like baking because they've got a lovely chef who works there and he's willing to bake the stuff that we will make in the various kitchens. So it's a little bit more sort of, I suppose, homely, if that's the right word, and sporty and baking and that kind of thing. Bournemouth, certainly having visited yesterday, I have to make use of the fantastic facilities they are. They're one of the leading creative arts universities in the UK, and they do everything from architecture to makeup. Now, I won't have access to all of that, but I do have access to some of the staff who are willing to do things like film, art, drama, dance, acting. So there'll be a lot of that offered, again, as a choice to the students. And hopefully in both locations, even though we're discouraging them being on their devices, I'm chatting with a game and app design company who will do some online creating of games for the students who perhaps are less active. In Padworth, there's lots of kind of orienteering things we can do in the grounds, and if the weather allows, there is a hard court for some tennis or basketball. In Bournemouth, there is a park nearby that we can at least walk in. Again, being mindful of the social distance thing, and we can also play football and that kind of thing in there. But the centre, if you like, suits the kind of activities that I have done. And I think certainly in the next week, we're going to have another release, if you like, of a more detailed programme for each location.
Yes, we'll be sending that out to all of you in the next few days, a more detailed programme for each week in each centre, with some of these specialist workshops that Mary's talking about, that I feel like I want to attend some of those.
And also, I shouldn't forget the fact that it is Christmas. So we have a bit of a Christmas theme, particularly that week leading up to Christmas, with doing some card making. And, I think I've spoken to the arts person about creating some Christmas art and decorations that the students can use. We've got a literature class on Christmas. Of course, we'll have the traditional Christmas dinner and customs, all of that kind of thing. We'll do a few little workshops and master classes on, just to give that Christmas feel to the centres.
I think it's going to be, the next best thing to going home and being with your mum and dad will be to join this programme and have that sense of community spirit and all of the activities going on.
Yeah. I think it will.
So just going back now to the serious stuff of how we're going to keep COVID safe. Mary is insisting, as you will all know, anyone who's booked a place at the moment, that all students will be tested prior to arrival at the programme for everybody else's reassurance. All Mary's staff, as she's alluded to, will be tested prior to the start of the course. And then household bubble will be created and maintained. All of the residential settings, hygiene and social distancing guidance will be followed, as well as Mary's own English UK guidance. There'll be regular temperature and health checks. And of course, should unfortunately anybody get symptoms or be tested positive for COVID, then isolation is contingency is securely in place.
Yes, just to kind of follow up on that, the plan is that I'm chatting to a COVID testing company at the moment, and I will receive all of the tests, which I will then send out via Lana, I guess, to the contacts at the various boarding schools. And we do need your assistance if you're listening in from a boarding school in ensuring that the student does the test appropriately. Don't know if any of you have done it, but it is fairly easy enough to do. And just that you record the name of the student against the serial number on the test. I will arrange for couriers to come, pick up the tests and send the results to me. And of course, they'll all come back negative. And then, as Lana said, if we do happen to have a situation once they're with us of a student either getting the dreaded disease, we will ensure that they are isolated, and any students who are in contact with them have isolation as well. And the good thing for me about having Bournemouth as an option, and I'm touching every piece of wood here, if we do have a situation where we have to have students who need to stay in isolation for longer than the 3rd of January, I can move them to Bournemouth, and they have agreed to stay open a little longer, just for a quarantine purpose, if you like, or a self-isolation purpose.
Yes, I mean, that was something we spoke about early on, wasn't it, Mary, to make sure that that contingency of that happening had been thought of and planned for. So we think we thought of everything. Mm-hmm. But then I've thought of everything for about a year now. And keep being surprised. So just coming towards the end now of our presentation, I will see if I can get those videos up. I don't know if you can do that, Charlotte, and see if you can get the videos up on YouTube for us to. They're on our website, aren't they?
Yeah.
Perhaps you could cue that and share the screen for the ending.
Yeah, no problem.
The booking's very easy. We have an online form which is right at the top of our website, BrightWorldGuardianships.com, or email me or Charlotte, Lana @brightworld.co.uk or Charlotte @brightworld.co.uk, and we can send you the form. We do need the booking deadline by the 20th of November, although we will obviously take students after that last minute. But we do need to have most of the students in place by the 20th in order to be able to staff the programme accordingly. These are the cancellation fees, which have to come into effect as 100% after the 5th, because staff will be, by that time, we'll have committed to staff.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, we realised that students want to go home. You know, I want to go home for Christmas to Ireland, but the reality is, you know, everybody's waiting until the last moment to make a decision. But if we want this program to be a success and to be organised, I have to really start planning from now on to get the staff in, to get all of the things booked, and not least, you know, our host colleges also need to hire staff and, you know, have certain deadlines themselves for payments, etc. So we really feel that the 20th of November is a fair date. It's only 3 weeks out pretty much from when we open for students to book. we will allow them to make a cancellation. Suddenly everything changes after that, another 2 weeks later. But we really do want to encourage people to book as early as possible so we can give the best possible service. And it's not to say I won't accept some last minute bookings, because I always will. And particularly in Bournemouth, I have a little bit of capacity there that I can book extra. But I really would encourage you to start having those conversations with your children, parents, etc., because we want it to be as organised as possible.
Thank you. Yes, one of our, I think we're going on to questions now, and one of our clients, Mr. Whaley, has asked a question about that last minute scenario. And his scenario is slightly different in that, and hello, Mr. Whaley, if you're there. His son they're going back to Bermuda for Christmas, and Bermuda is on the travel corridor list. So there's no need for his son to quarantine on the way back. So he's going off for Christmas, all being well. But Mr. Whaley's slightly concerned if things change during the Christmas holidays and his son has to suddenly come back, and could we accommodate last minute requirements? And the message really is, for our own clients, we do that all the time. It's part of our life. Mm-hmm. And now that we have this temporary pop-up Christmas provision for non-BrightWorld students, Mary and I will do everything we can to accommodate really any request that occurs to help people out. The other question that Mr. Whaley had was about testing, and if the test was a PCR test, and the answer to that is yes. That's the test that we will be doing. That
means we test if somebody has the COVID, not if they have had it. So testing an antigen rather than an antibody test.
Yes. And then I'm now really handing over to everybody. If anyone has any questions for us, Charlotte,
yeah, I can see that Emma Picken has a question before she goes to lunch, just about the cost of the programs.
Oh yes, so the cost is £960 per week, and that includes the COVID test.
Okay, and obviously there's a question here, Kerry France. Just worrying, obviously King's is a boarding school as well. I think just worrying that they're not going to lose any students out to you, Mary. So you don't look like the poaching type, but I'm hoping you're not planning to do that.
This is not an upselling exercise for ourselves. I'm sure not for Lana, and certainly not even for the host schools, although the guy I do liaise with might do the photography course in Bournemouth. But no, it's certainly not seen as that sort of project for us at all. We're just delighted, me personally, to be sort of back working, hopefully, with juniors again, as soon as I had my first summer and 30 years off. And we see it, it's a great opportunity to hopefully help out, but also, it's an economic opportunity for us, but only for Christmas, certainly nothing for the future. There will be no upselling involved.
And also, really, just to put things into context a little bit, Mary, you don't work at the main schools. I mean, you are
purely young learners.
You're young learners.
Season stuff.
Yeah, so it wouldn't really be something that you would sort of naturally do anyway.
I'm also not sales, I'm operations.
You're ops, yeah, exactly.
And so Victoria Lewin has asked a question as well, just about how many places we have available. So that the big question.
Yeah. Right now, as many as you want. No, it is a bit more limited in Padworth. I have about 80 beds to sell, but it's selling quite well, I believe, in Padworth already. In Bournemouth, they have almost 300 beds. So, the sky's the limit, hopefully, there. But I would imagine in and around 100, maybe I will take more than 100 if I can. But yes, plenty of spaces at the moment in Bournemouth, and a little less so in Padworth. But at the same time, we still have space.
And Victoria's just followed up with the question about the Bournemouth dates, because I know they do vary slightly from Padworth in that the programme does go on a little longer.
Sure. The program's more or less run for the same time in terms of the program. I can get into Bournemouth whenever. They're pretty much ready to hand me the keys now. So I have looked at boarding school dates, and it will be available for students from the 11th, Friday the 11th, so as soon as you're finished with them. And I will run on as long as is necessary in terms of accommodation, though the program itself will finish on Sunday the 3rd. But if some of you are not opening for another few days or even a week, I'm happy to accommodate students, but we won't really be running a program beyond the 3rd of January there.
In Padworth?
Sorry, even in Bournemouth, the program will finish technically on the 3rd, but I can accommodate the beds beyond.
Then they're staying on, because we're advertising it until the 10th for that, so they can stay on another 7 days and just get ready to go back to school. There's a lot of flexibility. People I can see are asking, can they just go for a week? Yes, 7 days is the minimum stay. And you can start any day of the week, because some schools I've noticed are breaking up Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday the 16th of December. Can they start then? Yes. And then they buy in 7-night blocks after that.
Sure.
And extra nights are charged a maximum of 3 nights at a lower rate of £85, and then prorated after that at £137 a night. But mostly I'm finding with the bookings we've got, it's fitting in quite well with those dates that are set. Yeah, dates. And lots of flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely, dates are flexible. Ages, personally, I think Bournemouth lends itself to an older age range, and it seems so far it is slightly older students that are going there. The technical age range is 14 to 17, or actually 14 to 19, because I will take a few over 18s if necessary. They will be housed slightly separately. Padworth, it lends itself to slightly younger students because it's shared facilities and there's some shared bedrooms, etc. And I think that's the way it's sort of falling at the moment, though Padworth will take them 7 to 17, and I will certainly split the activities according to age in Padworth.
Sarah Bacon, thank you for your question. The age range of the arts, so that's 14 plus, isn't it? Yeah. And copies of the slides, yeah. What I'll do after, I've got all of your email addresses because you registered for the webinar, so I'll send the slides to you. And also, I'm going to, as I say, send round, it might be a couple of days after that, the final programme for each centre as well. The cost for the, Sheila, thank you for your question, the cost is the same for both sites, yes. Charlotte, I'm not sure if you would, could you possibly, if I stop sharing, would you be able to share and show the videos?
Yeah, I've got that ready, so I will just share that now. So if we start off with Padworth, this is on our website if anybody wants to go and have a look. We've got a page for both centres. So I'm just going to click play. There we go.
That's where I imagine the history in that.
is the lovely Padworth College. And now if we take a look at Bournemouth.
I mean, that video obviously is an artist's impression because they hadn't opened it when they did the video. But I think you, as you were there yesterday, Mary, it's pretty accurate, isn't it?
Exactly like that. They are so lucky, students. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Apart from the grass, I think the trees were even going in yesterday. But yeah, very nice.
They're sort of laying turf last minute, and then.
Yeah.
But it's exciting, isn't it? Because it's brand new, so it will be very, very clean, and we have the whole thing to ourselves, which is really quite a unique opportunity.
Very much.
Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like to ask and unmute themselves, or that please use the chat? Don't put me on the spot with anything you know I won't know the answer to. No? Well, that just leaves me to say thank you very much for joining us today. We had a great turnout of over 40 people at one point. So thank you for joining. And Mary, thank you very much. Once we have all the students booked in, it's over to you. No pressure.
No, no, I'm very much looking forward to it. Of course, it's nerve-wracking. It's my first step into the COVID safety world. But having had a few months off, we're more than ready and really looking forward to working with yourselves, Lana, with a great leading organisation such as yourselves. Hopefully in partnership with the boarding schools, parents and agents that will send us, we will have a successful Christmas and send the students back with smiles on their faces.
Lovely. And thank you, Charlotte. And Charlotte's available to take any inquiries or give any quotations or advice.
Yes, no, definitely. And any schools or anyone that wants to have a separate Zoom call with us to ask any questions, then my email address is just charlotte@brightworld.co.uk, and Lana's is the same, so it's Lana@brightworld. So yeah, do get in touch.
And Charlotte has a reputation for hating talking about Christmas. So,
but it's all we've done for the past 2 or 3 months, I think. So so yeah, looking forward to it being here now, so we can stop talking about it and talk about something else.
Yeah, half term and Easter.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I shall end the meeting now. And just to say, again, thank you very much for joining, and do get in touch if you have any inquiries or any questions or need an individual meeting. And Anthony, I hope I answered your questions okay.
Bye, everybody.
You very much did. Thanks very much, Lana. I appreciate it.
No problem. And I hope Trey has a wonderful holiday back in Bermuda and does not have to come back until he's ready.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thanks very much.
Thank you. No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.